Senator Mark Udall sat down with us recently for an interview. He talked about the future of jobs and says it's about incentives and focus that all starts at the local level.
Everyone is anxious to see the economy thrive again.
Oh, yeah.
And a big part of that is getting back to work. What is your focus so that businesses, communities, and families have the tools that they need to be successful in our economy again?
Yeah, this is job one, is creating jobs. And let me just start with saying the government doesn't create jobs, the private sector does. There are ways in which, however, the government can set policies, whether it's at the local level here in Aurora, at the county level, in Arapahoe County, or at the state level in the state of Colorado, or widely around the United States. So my focus has been on what can we do at the federal level to provide the right kinds of incentives and clarity and focus. And I have an innovation agenda that I'm crafting into final form that I'd urge anybody who's interested to look at my website. You'll see the outlines of it there. But we ought to start with fundamental tax reform, simplify the tax code. We can add to that a focus on the innovation agenda here in Colorado, where we have a wonderful opportunity. And the way I remember this is using A, B, C, D, E. We have aerospace is a key part of our economy. Biotech and information tech are a really crucial part of the strength of our economy. C stands for clean energy and renewable energy, along with the traditional energy sources that are here. D is defense. Colorado has an important role in the nation's defense with the facilities at Buckley, just close to here. And then, of course, down in Colorado Springs with the Academy, with Peterson and Schriever Air Bases, and then Fort Carson. I sit on the Armed Services Committee, so I'm well positioned to be an advocate for those needs. And then E is for everything else, because we have tourism, we have ag, which is an important part of our economy. We produce the greatest amount of beer in the country, which Governor Hickenlooper pointed out at his inaugural the last few days. But we want to make sure all of those industries are put into a position where they know what the rules are, where we've eliminated some of the red tape that maybe was well-intentioned, but that doesn't make sense now in this environment. Secondly, we ought to, or I don't know if I'm going to do a third point or what here, but we need to make sure Washington's running more efficiently and effectively. I've called for some changes in the Senate rules so it operates in a more fair process. And then third, I want to go back to energy. There's so much we could do here to clarify the policies surrounding energy production, whether it's renewable energy. We have a renewable energy standard here in Colorado. We ought to have a national one. It sets a goal for wind and solar and hydro, and it's really been an important economic driver here. We could do that nationwide. I have a piece of legislation that would allow neighborhoods to come together and build solar farms on behalf of the entire neighborhood. Natural gas is a key part of our economy, and the natural gas sector needs some clarity, particularly about the process called fracking, where you inject fluid deep into geologic formations. And there are those that are concerned that it might contaminate groundwater. Let's clarify how that process is used so that we protect public health, but we can produce the natural gas that we need. Those are some of the ideas that would get our economy back on track. But I think above all, we need to rebuild our confidence in a sense that the future is going to be brighter than it has been. And that's why I think, again, back to the terrible events of this last week, if we in the Congress said, look, let's work together, let's remember we're Americans, let's pass a national energy policy, let's work together to reform our immigration system, let's get a hold of our long-term debt. If we could use what happened this last week to focus on those three, I look at them as challenges, not problems, but they're challenges that turn into opportunities. We could really send a strong message to Americans, to the business sector, and our confidence, I believe, would rise to significant levels, and we'd be back on track. Let me end on this note, because I know you've been patient. I'm a mountain climber. Colorado's blessed with, I think, the most interesting geography and topography in the country. We have the high prairie, which is inspiring in its own right, the canyon country to the far west of Colorado, and then we have the mountains that run right down the center. When I stand up on a mountaintop, and I'm fortunate to have pretty good knees yet, and my lungs still work, and I look out over the state, as I've done almost countless times, I don't look off, if I'm on the summit of Pikes Peak and down to the Springs, and say, oh geez, that's where all the Republicans live. And look down towards Pueblo and say, well, that's where all the Democrats live. I don't see a blue town or a red town. I just see Colorado and the Coloradans. And it's particularly poignant on the summit of Pikes Peak, because that's where America the Beautiful was written. Catherine Lee Bates stood there and looked out over Colorado and America itself. And I hope that that's the kind of attitude and vision that we'll re-embrace. And I certainly believe, if I can be a little modest, that's why people elected me to the Senate 2 years ago, is they know that's at the heart of who I am. I'm a proud Democrat, but I realize we don't have all the best ideas. The best ideas are American ideas. So we can bring that spirit to this really challenging time and get our country back on track. I'm an optimist. I believe in us.
Senator, it's so nice to hear that positive attitude, and we're really looking forward to a great year. Thank you again for joining us.
You can learn more about Senator Udall's agenda online at markudall.senate.gov.